Hello, my friends, and the polar vortex is still hanging on. Cheers to you, my friends. Oh my gosh. But fortunately, according to the weather, we'll be out of below zero temperatures here in a few days. Yay! But today, here in the kitchen, I thought I would share two recipes with everybody. We're going to be making an apple crisp as well as mozzarella chicken rolls. Ooh, that was tough to say. So we're going to get started with the dessert end of it first, getting that all prepped. So in a mixing bowl, we're going to combine, and I'm going to put all the ingredients up on the screen here, so prepare to hit the pause button and take a screenshot. What I have here is a half a cup of all-purpose flour with a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Dump that in here. A half a cup of just old-fashioned oats. 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar, if it'll come out. Well, that was packed. A 1/4 cup of just regular granulated sugar. And we're going to go in with a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. There we go. All right. Now we're going to just because this brown sugar's packed and everything, we're just going to give this just a quick mix up here. Kind of get everything somewhat together, or separated, I should say. There we go. And to that, we're going to add 5 tablespoons of melted butter. I'm not a fan of cutting in butter, so 5 tablespoons of melted butter. And we're going to get this all mixed up. So this does take a minute or two, my friends, so I'll be back directly. All right, my friends, got that taken care of. You know you're pretty much done when you don't see anything dry in there anymore. So let's move a couple things out of the way. Now, what I have here is roughly, just a pan I picked up at, Dollar Tree. I think it's about like 4 by 7, but so whatever size pan you think is appropriate. This one works pretty good for this recipe. So now we're just going to throw in 1 can of just regular old apple pie filling. It's a 20-ounce can. There we go. And we're going to kind of somewhat level that out. There we go. Now, we're going to need one of these. Now, I found the best way to put the crumble or crisp or topping, whatever you want to call it, on top here. Yeah, you're just going to get your hands in there. And you don't want it to be smooth on top. We're not going to pat it down or anything like that. We're just going to try to distribute it as evenly as we can. Because you want all those little bumps and, I guess, craggly bits in there, for lack of a better term. That's just about it. Now, my favorite part's the topping, really. I think it's what makes this little dessert. And there we go. Now, I've got the oven preheated for 350 degrees, but we are not going to pop this in there yet. We're actually going to cook both the chicken and the apple crisp at the same time. So give me a second, my friends. I'm going to shift gears here. Just set this on the counter until we're ready, and then we'll get that chicken put together. All right, my friends, we're ready for part 2, or recipe number 2. Now, I still have a few things to pull out of the fridge, but I'm just waiting last minute to do that. But right now we're going to get our filling ready, which is pretty straightforward. We have just some mozzarella cheese. I'm going to put this in this bowl right here. Try not to get it all over the table. I think that'll be enough. So we've got roughly, according to this joker, about 2 cups. And now what I've got some spinach, just some whole leaf spinach that I washed. So we're going to chop that up. I don't think I'm going to use all the spinach that's in there. Let's see, we'll see how it goes. But you want about 1/4 cup of spinach to 1 cup of cheese. So give me a minute, let me get this chopped up. All right, my friends, before we get to that, I want to show you a little trick that when you're chopping leafy stuff like this, a lot of you may already know this trick. Get that stem off there. You roll it up, and then you cut it. And you can cut your spinach as fine or as thick as you want. It's entirely up to you. I think that'll do it. Now we're just going to give this all a nice little mix in there. It looks pretty good. All right, my friends, give me a second. I'm going to wipe this off real quick and we'll grab that chicken and other stuff out of the fridge. Y'all take care and we'll catch up directly. All right, my friends. Well, I went ahead earlier and I prepped our chicken breasts. What I did was I took 2 chicken breasts and split them, and then took the split pieces and put them in a gallon-sized plastic bag and took the meat mallet to it to kind of get them all nice and level. And I had 4, but we're down to 3. One of them had a mishap. Entirely my fault. But right now, what I have here is about 1/3 to 1/2 cup of just regular mayonnaise. This is important. And we're going to add, always remember to shake your mustard first so you don't get that mustard water. We're going to add about 1 teaspoon of mustard to that. And it looks pretty close. Let's get that out of the way. And we're going to mix this up. There we go. All right, now we're ready to handle some chicken. Now I just have this small baking dish. It's probably 5x7 or so, but you can use whatever appropriate baking dish you want to use. It also depends on how many pieces of chicken you've got. So well, let's get started. So we're going to take a chicken breast. Let's go this way. That's why I'm going to roll it. And then we're going to take some. What I have here is just salt and pepper to taste. I just have salt and pepper in this container. I'm just going to sprinkle some on there. Now I go a little bit heavy on the pepper. And here we just have some dried oregano. And you want to go easy on this. Yeah, like 4 specks. And then we're going to take our little fancy little brush here. Oops, just about dumped the oregano. We're going to take our mayonnaise mustard mixture and we're just going to kind of grease the top of this joker. What this is going to do is help keep the chicken moist. There we go. Now we have our cheese and spinach mixture and we're just going to put it right on top. And you don't need to go too heavy-handed with it, but use your own judgment. Now, if I didn't mention, I've already sprayed this container, and I sprayed the one back there too for the apple crisp. I keep wanting to call it an apple cobbler, but it's not. It's an apple crisp. So now we're just going to roll this joker up. I knew it was going to stick. There we go. Just like that. I'm just going to set it right in the baking dish. Put my fingers off a little bit. And grab another one. And we're going to do the same thing. These go together actually pretty quickly. Easy does it. Oops, I almost forgot a step. These things happen. Now our cheese. And you will have some cheese left, but we'll need that for the tail end of this little recipe. Roll it up. Best you can. And that's all three. Now, our last step is we're going to coat the tops of these jokers with this little concoction yet again. And you can be as liberal with it as you like. But we're just going to get the tops really good. And now it's ready for the oven. All right, my friends, as I probably mentioned before, we have the oven set at 350. We're going to put this and the apple crisp in there at the same time. We've got big enough space in the oven. It's in a rack for 25 minutes. And then we'll check it. You want to make sure your chicken reaches an internal temperature of about 165. But as far as the apple crisp is concerned, 25 to 30 minutes should be good to go. All right, my friends. Well, let's get this baking and we'll catch up directly. Right there. Right there. All right, my friends. Well, the apple crisp was done right at 25 minutes, and I just checked the temperature on our chicken. It took about the full 30, but it's done. So now what we're going to do is take the remaining chopped up spinach and cheese here, and we're just going to sprinkle it on the top. That looks pretty good. And we're going to pop it back in the oven for probably about, well, as long as it takes the cheese to melt, about 3 or 4 minutes. So we'll check it in 3 and see how we're doing. But we should be able to move over to the table here directly, my friends. Appreciate you hanging in there. Y'all take care, and we'll catch up at the table. All right, my friends. Well, it's been cooling here, the chicken here for a bit. That's been cooling for a good little bit. But let's pull one out and see how we did. Let's see if I can get one out of here without making too much of a mess. There we go. Whoop. I need to cool just a little bit more, but we're going to risk it. Now here in a minute, I've got some mixed vegetables in the fridge that I'm gonna throw in the microwave and warm up, but I wanted to see how we did with this chicken. So let's see. I need to get some new steak knives. Oh, and the filling's all nice and melted in there. We got to be careful. That's some good stuff. Holy catfish. And with the mayonnaise and mustard, it kept it, oh my gosh, this is juicy is an understatement. Wow. Let's try that again. Fantastic. All right, before I get too far, because we have 2 recipes, so I'll slide this over. I'll get back to it directly. Let's see how we did on our apple cobbler. I did it again. Apple crisp. Oh, I hope you can hear that, my friends. It's already crunching in there. Oh, there we go. Just take just a little bit out. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. This hopefully has cooled down pretty good. Try not to get too big of a bite. Wow, that is some good stuff. The topping came out perfect. There's a crunch to it, but it's not like, like a really hard crunch. Hard to describe. Well, my friends, man, that's better than the chicken. I'm going to have to set that to the side. All right, my friends, like I said, I want to mix up some vegetables and have me a nice dinner here tonight. But I just want to tell everybody out there just how much I appreciate y'all hanging in there on our cold winter days where we can't get to the campground. I truly do. So everybody out there, y'all be safe, take care, and as always, I'll see you soon.